Josh Cooperman, host and publisher of Convo By Design, and this is a new series of the show called The Design Messengers, a Monday episode of the show sharing design trade info you need to know. And I have some interesting items for you today. First is the loss of another design industry brand. Second is a new Booklook that I think you're going to absolutely love. Call this something old and something new about something old. Okay. First up, the loss of another iconic design brand. It's true. Kelly Moore Paints. The global design business doesn't have enough brands. We really don't. And if you think about it, let's just look at paint, right? Sherwin-Williams, Farrow & Ball, Benjamin Moore, Behr, Valspar, Backdrop, Rust-Oleum. It sounds like a lot, but it's really not when you think about how many residential, commercial, and industrial projects need to be served. How many designers and architects need to be served? How many homeowners need to be served? When one is lost, you have to wonder why and what the ramifications will be, like putting more pressure on the other brands that are existing. Good for business, yeah, but can they deliver the added demand? Can they supply that? Now, Kelly Moore Paints is not the biggest. I would call it a boutique paint company. You know, as of this writing, Kelly Moore, by the way, has not announced its closure on the website or on the socials, which I find interesting and somewhat disappointing. If you're going to bail and you're going to bail out, tell your customers first, as loudly as you can. Yes, you might lose some sales. And yes, it's uncomfortable, but it's the right thing to do. Thank goodness for good journalism. On Friday, January 12th, Kelly Moore Paints in Irving, Texas, let hundreds of workers go. And in a press release, announced that they call a, quote, plan for orderly out-of-court wind-down of company operations, end quote. The company pointed to a decades-long legal struggle stemming from asbestos litigation. Kelly Moore estimated legal liabilities in excess of $170 million, a number they apparently could not overcome. The company was founded by William Kelly and William Moore in California, 1946, and acquired by Flacks Group in 2022. Talk about bad timing. This is a company that was founded on fair value, fair pricing, and offering a designer quality paint for the masses. They were one of the largest independents in the country, with over $400 million in annual sales. From the press release in September 2022, the company goals and aspirations were big. Quote, the purchase of Kelly Moore Paints is part of Flacks Group's multi-stage investment thesis around industrial companies with strong manufacturing footprints and global distribution. The acquisition, when combined with its existing portfolio company, Germany-based Flüger Industries, put Flacks Group's industrial vertical on track to exceed $1 billion in revenue in the next 2 to 3 years, end quote. That presser did not age well, I think. And it's unfortunate. And it's just another example of a design brand not scaled for success. And it's unfortunate because, yeah, you can go to Farrow & Ball, you can go to Sherwin-Williams, you can go to Benjamin Moore, but people lost their jobs. And that's unfortunate. And I'm sorry for those that have been displaced. I have a book look for you this week. A new book by Elizabeth and Ethan Finkelstein. They are the founders of Cheap Old Houses and hosts of HGTV's show by the same name. Now, I am not a huge fan of the made-for TV shows about design these days, and for one main reason. I don't find them authentic. they aren't real when it comes to taste, style, and design build. But I'm not a hater either. I just want better. And this show is actually a favorite of mine. It's better. I believe Elizabeth and Ethan. I believe in them. I believe they love old houses. I love old houses, renovations, and road trips. All of this is incorporated in the show. And when I received this book, I found something more to love. The book is a series of short stories about, well, cheap old houses, the places, people, kids, dogs, how much these homes cost to buy and to restore. In some cases, the houses were free. Just needed somebody to come in and provide some love. But they're not in LA and New York City. They're in small towns. And that's the other thing that's amazing about this. This is a big deal. And I'll tell you, as someone who left LA for a smaller town, Tulsa, lives in an old home built in 1936, and one that is in the process of being reimagined. As you can see through the Tulsa Remote Design House segments on the show and videos on our Instagram feed, I can tell you, leaving the big metropolitan city for a smaller town in a bigger and older home has been an incredible experience that pre-pandemic would not have seemed like a real possibility at all. So this book is inspirational. It's aspirational. And it is, above all else, authentic. And I love that. We live in a time of high housing costs, high mortgage rates, congested, hyper-competitive cities, and it doesn't have to be that way. I think the next 5 to 10 years is going to provide a fundamental shift in not just how we live, but where we live. The pandemic created the opportunity for us to work and live where we choose. There will be those who say, I love New York City and I'm never leaving. Cool. There are people like me who say, I love LA. I mean it. I love LA. But I've moved before and I have always gone back. I might go back, might not. It's different this time. It feels different this time. But the idea that now technology has caught up with the wanderlust of those like me who love road trips, who love discovery, who love design. This will shine a light on quality of life and crafting your environment to suit life instead of the other way around. And this book provides story after story, real world examples of people like you who are making this happen. The joy of finding amazing, old, well-built homes in uncomplicated, simple cities and towns that you have never heard of. And if you've never heard of it, how do you know you're not going to like it? Or perhaps even love it? I'll tell you a quick story. A couple of years ago, I went back to LA after moving to Tulsa. I was at an industry event. It got together. There were literally probably 150, 200 people there, all designers, architects, all friends of mine. Loved seeing them. And something interesting happened. The majority of the folks who did not know that I had moved to Tulsa, because it was relatively new at that time, would say, and I'm quoting here because it wasn't just one person, two people, it was the majority. I would say it was 80% of the people would say, Oklahoma. Ugh. I don't know how you spell that. E-W-W-W. I mean, ugh. Tulsa. Ugh. And they'd make that face. To which I would reply, now listen, I'm not from Tulsa. Tulsa's not my hometown. I'm not a Tulsan. I'm not an Oklahoman. But I have been here for a while now. And at the time, I was newly here. Which, by the way, that's just a crappy thing to do anyway. When somebody tells you what they're doing, and you're like, ugh. But in reality, my question back to them was, well, when was the last time you were there? And do you know, of all the people who said that to me, not a single one of them had ever been to Oklahoma. Not a single one of them had ever been to Tulsa. They just went on preconceived notions. That's a mistake. There is residential gold in small cities and towns dappled across the country. And this book is not just a showcase of those, but a how-to through the eyes and experiences of those who've actually done it. I do love this book. I'm a fan of the Finkelsteins' mission, and I am going to try to book them for the show so you can hear them. And until I do, get the book because it's an absolute keeper. The book is published by Clarkson Potter, and for links, again, check the show notes to get the book or to get more information. The Finkelsteins, you're amazing, and I love this book. And this has been another book look showcasing the amazing authors, creatives, and writers who are producing some incredible design and architecture literature for your enjoyment. This is the Design Messengers, an audio essay crafted to get your week off to a great start by sharing ideas to launch you into being the best you can be in all your endeavors, but specifically as a creative in the design and architecture space. Thank you for listening. If you are not already a subscriber to Convo by Design, please consider subscribing to the show so you can receive every episode of the Design Messengers and Convo by Design automatically when they're published. If you are listening to us for the first time, you can find Convo by Design everywhere you find your favorite podcasts. If you are so inclined, please also consider following on Instagram at Convo by Design with an X. Thanks again for listening. Be well, and take today first.